I learned my real worth on Christmas morning, not through gifts, but through what my own family took from me. There was no shouting, no plates flying across the kitchen, not even a single apology. Just my mom turning from the stove, wiping her hands on her holiday apron like she'd finished seasoning the turkey. "Madison," she said casually, "we sold your car." At first, I thought she meant my old car. You know, the beat-up one. But no, she meant the Tesla I bought after 2 years of burning myself out with back-to-back shifts. The one thing in my life I was actually proud of. Before I could even breathe, my dad stepped forward and shoved a document into my hand. "Sign here," he said. "Your sister needs a guarantor for her apartment. If you don't sign, you can start arranging another place to stay." No hesitation. No explanation. No moment of guilt from them for draining the savings I spent years building. Not one of them mentioned the nights I dragged myself home at 2 a.m. from work while my sister slept until noon. Nobody even pretended to say thank you. It was like my money had always been theirs. I was just the body attached to it. Something inside me didn't explode, it just shut off. The kind of silence that isn't weakness, it's awakening. I folded the paper, slid it into my pocket, and walked upstairs. Didn't argue. Didn't cry. Didn't scream the way I know they expected me to. In less than 10 minutes, I was packing my bags. If they could treat me like a walking ATM, then I didn't have a home there anymore. I left the house without signing anything. I left more than they ever realized. Outside, the cold air slapped me, but somehow it felt warmer than that kitchen. I walked in autopilot to the tiny coffee shop I always went to after work. Ordered something I didn't even hear myself say. Sat in the corner with the unsigned paper still crushed in my hand. I don't know if you've ever experienced that moment where your mind flips from, "Why would they do this?" to "Fine. If this is the game, I'll learn the rules better than you." Because that's what happened to me. I checked my phone out of habit, and my heart dropped. "Your online banking password has been changed successfully." I hadn't changed anything. A frantic call to the bank confirmed everything. Someone logged into my account the night before from my home's Wi-Fi and transferred funds without my authorization. Christmas wasn't a surprise. It was a setup. I opened my notes app and started writing everything: dates, times, threats, every word they'd said. I wasn't being dramatic. I was building proof. And that's when my real revenge began, not with yelling, but with a pen. Before I tell you what I wrote in the note I left on their kitchen table, the one that made my sister panic, you need to know how far they went behind my back. The coffee in front of me had already gone cold by the time my shaking stopped. I sat there trying to understand how my own parents could plan something like this, quietly, confidently, as if my life was just a spreadsheet they could edit. I stared at the unsigned guarantor paper in my hand. It wasn't just a form anymore. It was a weapon they expected me to aim at myself. If someone threatened your future on Christmas morning, would you still call it a family misunderstanding? Because that's what they'd later try to call it. A misunderstanding. The bank rep on the phone confirmed the worst. Someone had changed my password around midnight. Someone had moved money. Someone is sitting in the same house as me. And suddenly, their calm behavior that morning made sense. They weren't confessing. They were finishing a job. I breathed slowly, opened my email app, and started writing to the bank. This time, not as the obedient daughter they always expected, but as someone who finally understood her worth. I listed the transactions I didn't authorize. The login is from my home IP. The timeline. Every detail, no exaggerations, no shaky emotions. If they wanted to call me dramatic later, I wanted a digital trail proving I wasn't. My thumb hovered over the send button. Was I really doing this? Reporting my own parents? Then I remembered the number on my bank summary, the amount that represented skipped trips, cheap lunches, and nights I stayed overtime while my sister lived carefree. My future was not a family contribution. My thumb hit send. For the first time all day, I smiled. That night, I went back to the house one last time. Quiet, calm. They were all asleep, of course they were. Why stay awake when you're so sure the daughter you raised will keep forgiving you? I collected the rest of my things and placed a folded handwritten note in the middle of the kitchen table. Not a paragraph. Not a dramatic speech. Not even an explanation. Just one simple line. I've already reported the transfers and the document to the bank. Do not sign anything under my name again. I closed the door behind me softly, almost politely, and left. My new room was tiny, barely big enough for a bed and a squeaky wardrobe, but it was mine. Nobody could sneak in here and take something from me. The next morning, I woke up to a storm on my phone. Missed calls, voicemails, texts flooding my screen. My sister, my mom, my dad, even the house landline. Then one email from the bank. Urgent, account activity under review. Good. For once, the mess they created wasn't landing on my shoulders. My dad's angry texts accusing me of being irrational. My mom's emotional essays begged me to talk. And my sister's frantic messages, those were the most predictable. What did you do? Why is my apartment loan frozen? Fix this now, answer me. But the real twist, she wasn't just panicking. She was about to go online and rewrite the whole story. And her version. It was about to blow up in a way none of us expected. Before I show you how my sister tried to destroy me publicly, and how the internet accidentally chose my side, you need to see the post she made that changed everything. 2 days after I left home, I was lying on the tiny bed in my new room, letting mindless videos distract me. I wanted a break, just a few hours where I wasn't thinking about banks, signatures, or betrayal. But then I saw it, my sister's Instagram post. A perfectly staged photo. Her mom and dad are sitting in front of the Christmas tree, smiling like a toothpaste commercial. Glittery filters, fake snow, matching red sweaters. The caption, "Family is about who stays, not who walks away. Hashtag family first, hashtag blessed." I felt something in my chest crack, not from sadness, but from the absolute audacity. Thousands of likes in a few hours. Comments flooding in. Yeses, Queen, protect your peace. Family over everything. Cut off the negativity, babe. You're so strong. Negativity, that was me now. Not the stolen money. Not the forced guarantor document. Not the emotional threats. Me. She was already playing victim before the truth even cooled. Then I saw her reply in the comments to someone who asked where I was. She abandoned us over a small misunderstanding. Some people forget family when money is involved. A small misunderstanding. My jaw clenched, but instead of crying, screaming, or replying, something far calmer sparked inside me. No, they don't get to write the story this time. I took screenshots every post, every comment. And then, for the first time in my life, I told my side first. Not to my relatives. Not on Facebook. Not in some dramatic family group chat, but anonymously. I wrote a long detailed post on a subreddit known for exposing family manipulation. No names, no locations, no identifiable details. Just the truth. Christmas morning, the sold car, the stolen savings, the password change, the threats, the loan, the note, everything. At the end, I asked one question: would you forgive this, or would you walk away? The internet responded like a tidal wave, thousands of comments. People are stitching it into TikToks. The creators are reading it dramatically. Psychologists explained how my family displayed classic financial and emotional manipulation. My parents were labeled financial predators. My sister was called a gold-plated red flag, and me. People said I'd done the only sane thing. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, my sister blew up my phone. "Why are you doing this to me? You ruined my reputation. Everyone thinks I'm spoiled. Fix it. Fix it." The irony. She had done that herself. Still, I didn't reply. Instead, when Grace, my closest friend, invited me on a quick mountain trip to breathe, I said yes. I needed distance. And Wi-Fi. On the drive there, the post kept blowing up. The bank kept emailing. My sister kept spiraling, but she had no idea the worst part for her wasn't the internet. It was what the bank was about to do next. What happened next didn't just shake my family, it shattered the image they'd spent years building. The mountains were the calm I didn't know I needed, crisp air, tall pines, silence that wasn't heavy, just peaceful. But even in that quiet, my phone buzzed like a restless bee in my jacket pocket. Drama, apparently, doesn't care about scenery. By the second day, my anonymous post had blown up past anything I expected. Local gossip pages started connecting dots: the tech job daughter, the party girl sister, the strict father with a reputation. People love patterns, and my family's behavior wasn't exactly subtle. But the real earthquake hit my inbox later that evening. An email from the bank. Short, cold, professional. "We have frozen the disputed amount and halted the loan application associated with your name. Further investigation is in progress." I reread it twice. They didn't freeze just my account. They froze my sister's loan application to the apartment she was bragging about on Instagram, the one she'd already told everyone she was moving into, the one she bought furniture for, meaning her future was officially on pause. I imagined my parents sitting in some loan officer's office, smiling politely right up until they heard the words, Your guarantor reported unauthorized activity. The loan is suspended. The thought should have satisfied me. But honestly, it just made me feel justified. Later that night, Grace and I sat around a fire pit behind the cabin. She sipped hot chocolate while I stared into the flames, replaying every moment of the last week. What do you actually want out of this? She asked gently. Not what you think you should want. What you really want. I took a long breath. I want them to stop treating my stability like a family-funded charity project, I said. I want them to realize I'm not their backup plan, and I want my money back, or at least the respect they never gave me. Grace nodded. So you want consequences, not revenge. I didn't know the difference was so sharp until she said it. Later, alone in the tiny bedroom of the cabin, I opened my notes app again. This time not for evidence but for boundaries, non-negotiables. No touching my finances. No temporary transfers. No guilt tripping. No legal documents without written consent. No more sacrificing me for my sister. And if they broke the rules, I walk. No second chances. The next morning, as we drove back toward the city, my phone lit up with a familiar number. My dad. I let it go to voicemail. When I listened, the anger in his voice was sharp enough to cut through the car speakers. Madison, this has gone too far. You're embarrassing this family. Fix the bank situation immediately. Delete whatever you posted. If you keep pushing this, don't come back home at all. Grace glanced at me. Well, I stared out the window at the trees rushing by. He's not upset because he hurt me, I said quietly. He's upset because people might find out. By the time we reached my parents' neighborhood, I knew exactly what I had to do. For the first time in my life, they weren't getting the version of me who backed down. The moment I walked into that house, with every truth they tried to hide. Walking up my parents' front steps felt like walking into a place I used to belong, a stage I'd performed on my entire life. But this time, I wasn't showing up as the responsible daughter. I was showing up as someone who finally knew her worth. The Christmas decorations were still up, but the house felt different now, smaller somehow. Like the illusion had cracked and reality was leaking through. They were all in the living room when I walked in. The same room where they used to laugh at family dinners. Where they celebrated my sister's small achievements and treated mine like obligations. My mom stood quickly, eyes red. My dad stayed seated, jaw clenched. My sister sat stiff on the couch, clutching her phone like it was a lifeline. You came, my mom breathed, like she'd been scared I never would. No, my dad cut in. She came because this needs to end. Sit. I didn't move. We'll talk like this, I said firmly. I'm not here to be ordered around. My sister scoffed loudly. You've made our lives hell, she snapped. Do you know what it's like having everyone send me that stupid post? Calling me entitled, spoiled, a leech. I looked at her slowly. Did you tell them the part where you needed my money, my signature, and my silence? Or did you skip that? Oh my God, she burst out. It wasn't like that. You're ruining everything over money. There it was again, that word. Money, 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 and never respect. My dad finally stood, trying to tower over me like he used to. This is not how adults handle problems, he growled. The bank is escalating this. Fraud is on the table. Fix it. I pulled an envelope from my bag and placed it on the coffee table. The bank already completed its preliminary review, I said. They froze the stolen funds, and they voided the guarantor application. Your apartment is gone. The deposit is being disputed. Whoever signed for it can deal with the landlord. My sister's face went pale as she snatched the envelope, hands shaking. You can't do this, she whispered. I told everyone I was moving in next week. I already bought furniture. You bought a future using my sacrifice, I interrupted. And you expected me to clap for you. My dad slammed his hand on the table. You owe us respect. I met his eyes without flinching. You earn respect. You don't steal it. Silence. The kind that finally exposes every truth people try to bury. I took out the last paper, my non-negotiables. If you want any kind of relationship with me, these are the conditions. No touching my finances, no guilt, no lies, no documents without written consent. And if you ever choose her comfort over my safety again, I walk, permanently. My mom broke down crying. My dad looked furious but defeated. My sister stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time, not as the sister she could lean on, but as a person with boundaries. I turned toward the door. Madison, my mom choked. Will you come home for dinner? For holidays, for anything. I paused. Maybe, I said softly. If you start treating me like a daughter, not a credit line. My dad called after me, voice shaking between anger and fear. Is this your revenge? I looked back once. My revenge, I said, was choosing myself. Everything else, those are just consequences. I stepped outside into the cold air, and this time, it didn't sting. It felt like freedom. Thanks for watching the video, subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon.